Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. It's my first time in Kiev, so amazing. So my name is Alon Kaplan, and I will tell you a bit about FMOD. But before I start even to tell you about myself, I want to know how many people here are composers and sound designers? Please raise your hand. Okay. And how many people have worked with FMOD or similar stuff? Cool. How many are just game developers, not musicians or composers? Okay, okay. Interesting. So I will know what more to focus about because I prepared for all of the options. Okay, so a bit about myself. So I live in Israel, and I work part-time in this company called JoyTunes, which we make apps for teaching piano. I'm also a composer myself and sound designer for the last 10 years. I wrote more than 70 different game scores, not including the Global Game Jam ones, and a lot of film music. I'm also a teacher for music for video games, and also I'm a conductor, a choir and orchestra conductor, and also have my own indie team. It's called Biohex Games, which we make a strategy game. I will show you a bit later about it as an example. So yeah, I'm all over the place doing music and sound design, and also a bit into the game production itself. And I can tell you personally that helped me a lot in what I do as a musician and composer to understand like all of the other aspects of the game, being a producer. Okay, so I don't work for FMOD, so don't think that this is like a commercial for FMOD coming from the company. No, it's just me as a musician that really enjoy this software. I also work with a lot of other softwares, but I think FMOD has some very unique stuff that if you haven't tried it yet, you should try. And yeah, why FMOD? So it's per time from the developers. You can do a lot of stuff in FMOD without knowing a single line of code. You can just do a lot of stuff there. And yeah, the developers will love you for that. Yeah, and also it's super simple, and it's made for us, for the sound designers and musicians. Yeah, also it's free, unless you're doing a very successful game that earns more than, I think, $200,000 a year, I think. If that's where you start to pay for FMOD. Yeah, and it's cool. When you say, yeah, I'm working with FMOD in this game, if you go to the FMOD website and see all of the big customers that work with them, it's like, yeah, you have one of the team that work with FMOD. Okay, so let's dig in a bit. Yeah. So a bit of sound design interesting features that we have there. I split it to sound design and music because there's interesting stuff for both. Yeah. So first of all, the basics, FMOD IO, if you don't know, it's a cloud-based library for sound effects inside FMOD that you can go inside FMOD and immediately drag files and find any interesting sound that you want, and you can just buy it, the single sound like that. Super simple. Okay, so after you have sounds and you want to play them with them, stuff that, you know, it's not a lot of code to do this stuff, but it's still, when you want to just do whatever you want as a musician and a sound designer, you can just do a lot of versatility in FMOD without doing any code. So you can random the pitch, of course, you can random the volume, you can random the starting position of the sound, and you can also random between a few sounds, of course, variations, what's called, and you can make them work without async, like async that the sounds will keep going on until they end while other sounds will start again. Let me show you what I'm talking about, because unless it will be confusing. So prepared you this simple one. Oh, it's here. So this simple laser sound, let's make it solo. Before playing with it a bit, it was just like a simple laser sound like this. Not so interesting. Okay, and you can immediately, of course, play with its pitch to be randomized, change every time, play with the volume, play even with the point that it starts. And now every time it will be different. So that's like super fast and simple to do this kind of stuff. And after you do stuff like that, you can also add more sound to it. So now we have two sounds that every time it will be another sound playing, and you can always also decide what's the chances that each of the sounds will be heard. So for example, I did the first sound to be 60% of the time, and the other one will be 40%. So you can put like a big list of sounds, whatever you want. And I also did what I told you before, what's called the async, which make the longer sound play until it ends, even if it's longer than the loop. And then the second sound will only start after the first one was ending. So check this out. Okay, so again, super simple. You just drag the files, and that's immediately going to the game engine. And you don't need to ever enter Unity again, unless you want. Yeah, sorry, I got out. So, if you want to make stuff more complicated, of course, you can start to dig in. So, for example, if you want to make footsteps, most of the time when we don't have FMOD and stuff like that, you will not get it too complicated. You will just take maybe 2 to 4 sounds and randomize between them right inside Unity. Tell the developers I need to random between a few sounds, and that's it. But it's really easy to get complicated in that in FMOD. You can do, for example, like 8 different sounds for if you walk on wood, different sounds for dirt, different sounds for sand, different sounds for water, whatever. And every time they will randomize between them, but you also can do that by having different parameters coming from Unity inside FMOD and telling you where you are now in the map, and decide like that how to which of the sounds to use. I will show you in a second how that is done, but just for you to know, you can make like many variations like that. Okay, so one example that you could do for that is what I call trigger zones. It's just like you can build different boxes inside Unity or inside any other engine, boxes with something called a trigger that the game knows when you enter that trigger and send to FMOD whatever you want about it. So you can do in these trigger modes, you can change the music according to these trigger zones. You can change the footsteps, of course. You can change the reverb. I will show in a second an example for that. But yeah, it's super simple. For footsteps, also there's another technique, a bit more sophisticated, and that needs a bit of code, which is with raycasting, that you can do that inside Unity. You have something that is actually checking what is the floor you're pressing on, and that is what's sent to Unity, to FMOD. So, for example, let's go to Unity. Everything is here right, waiting for us. So what I did here, I just like put on the camera something from FMOD. It's called the emitter, which is connected to FMOD, and have just one sound effect going in the loop in there. And I just built this little cube, and I made it also connected to FMOD, that the moment, the moment that the camera will go inside this cube, it will have reverb. Just like super simple. And let me show you how it looks like inside FMOD. So I just have this small sound. Let's hear it.
Danger, danger, solar storm approaching.
Something. And I have this parameter, which is coming from Unity. This is the reverb controller. So I have a curve for the reverb, and the moment that you enter this cube, it will just add a reverb. Okay, let's see. I will do it like this.
Danger, danger,
okay.
Solar storm approaching.
I'm dragging now the camera.
Danger, danger,
look at it.
Solar storm approaching. Danger, danger, solar storm approaching. Danger, danger, solar storm approaching. Danger, danger, solar storm approaching. Danger.
Okay, so also without any, I don't know any single code for that. What I just did, put 2 elements inside Unity, and that's it. Is there any question until now, like if you want to make something clear about this? Because I don't know if it's new for you or not. Okay, so moving forward. Yeah, and of course you can make all of the generic adaptive sounds inside FMOD, for example, car engines, that you can change the pitch of the engine, of course, according to the speed, but you can also do layers of different gears, and you can do crossfade between them according to the speed of the car. Like in this picture, you can see that there's like the low level of the engine, and if you're driving fast, there's a much faster loop, and you can just crossfade between them. And also you have all of the controls that maybe you know in the Unity sound. It's all coming from FMOD, so you have that also in FMOD. You can do the 3D testing of the sound to see how it will heard anywhere in the 3D space. You can change the discount curve, which means you can change when you will start to hear the sound, depending on how close you are to him. And you can also do what's called ducking, which is the control of different sounds over other sounds. So for example, if you have music and sound effects and vocals, voiceover in the same game, and you can do that every time that someone is speaking in the game, the music will go down. So you can just do that inside FMOD with sidechain. If you know what sidechain is, just connect between different channels, one click and it's ready. Okay? So a bit about the music features. So as we saw, there's a lot of parameters that you can send between Unity and FMOD or any other engine. So for example, you can control the intensity, you can control the HP. The moment you have low HP, the music will change. Or the moment you get close to win the monster, the new music will change. So all of that are different parameters that you can send between the two softwares. And yeah, there's this cool feature called 6-speed inside FMOD, which is actually, I will show it to you in a second. What it means is that if you have a parameter that is changing between low music to high intensity music, you can do it like, you can tell how much time it will take between the two crossfades. So that's the 6-speed. Also, again, you don't need to program anything, you just say how much time it will take. So the basic, when you make music for games, of course, you work with loops. You want them to be seamlessly, right? And of course, you will work with OGG or WAV formats, because MP3s, if you know, they don't loop seamlessly. They always have like this small cut on the beginning. So you need to use these formats. And one thing that always happens with loops in games or whatever is that you have reverb at the end of the loop. And you cut this reverb when you export, right? So if you have this in a loop, you will always, the loop will sound a bit strange when it loops because you don't have the reverb at the beginning. So what a lot of the time you can do is just export the wave inside back to your audio station, your Cubase or whatever, and then you can do it twice and cut it in the middle. So you have one version without the tail and one with the tail. And then you can put that inside FMOD and tell it, I will show you what you can do with that. For example, so here's a music one of my students did. And so we have like an intro, and then you have the music itself doing twice. So you have the intro, the music, and then only the second time is looped. This is a loop, the blue thing. So only when you get to the second time it loops, because then it has the tail at the beginning. Let's hear for a second. So yeah, I will not let you hear everything now, but for example, when you get to the loop, you will hear that the beginning already have the reverb of the ending here. So yeah, if you compare it to this part, the beginning of the first loop, maybe. So you hear there's the guitars that coming from the end. Okay, so another thing that you have inside FMOD is the what's called AHDSR envelope, which is like a envelope, if you know, from a synthesizer that you can change the attack hold and everything. But what's nice here is you can put it on stuff like the volume, and then you can actually do that. The first time that the music is heard, there will be a crossfade inside, a fade in, without need to ask the developers to do that. And every time that the music just stops, it will stop with a fade out. And you can also do that when the music going in loops, it will also play the tail when starting the next loop. By doing like a long release, it will still play the tail, even if it's out of the loop. So when you have layers of music that you want to add more and more intensity, you can do that, of course, with the parameters. And I have seen two techniques for doing that. Actually, maybe you know about them, like one is just like adding more and more sounds, and one is adding, having different sounds that all of the tracks are containing the tracks that before. So it's not like you're adding more, you're just like crossfading between them. So it's kind of like DJing, let's call it. Yeah, and let me show you an example, also very, very fast. So this is what I did for a game for now. It's containing 5 different layers of sound, and the first layer of sound is also containing 8 different cues that every time it randomizes between them. But when I have adding parameters from the game, there will be more music. So let me do it fast. Look at what I'm doing up there. I'm adding music to the... You can see it in the mixer. Yeah. Okay, so this was a quick example. I think we don't have time, so I won't show you how it looks like inside the game, but in the game I just put trigger zones, different like I showed you before, that every time you enter a trigger zone, it just say which music is entering and which music is going out. You can get way more complicated like that. You can have different part of the game. Each of them has different music, and you can have different triggers that tell you go to the next part of tracks and play with them, or jump between different part of the songs. So you can have like a song with a verse and a chorus, and every part of the game will just like jump between them according to what's happening in the engine. Okay, so very, very fast, a few stuff you should know. One is the live update. What means you can connect the game into FMOD live and play the game on Unity while it's running, and while running you can test the game, the sounds, and change stuff in FMOD and use it live. You can also create a game sound setting menu like this in a game that is connected to the FMOD buses. So you have like a mixer, you can have mixer for music, sound effects, everything, and just change it all the time. And of course, there's VR support. For today, there's Resonance. It's a nice plugin for FMOD and Unity that you can change the spatial sound in 3D. And also GVR and SteamVR, they all have FMOD support, so that's super cool. And you can change, like you can do inside the game engine, you can change how many sounds you can hear at the same time in order to not make it crazy. And you have a few options for that. And of course, if you're using sound from FMOD, there's a tip. You can just turn the sound in the Unity, disable it inside the Unity properties. That's where you make sure that everything is coming from FMOD. Yeah, and one last thing. For me, it's very, very easy when I work with the developers to have this asset list that I created. Actually, it's online and shared for the community, but it has like all of the elements that I can sort about, and you have like different part you can choose, like the type of the sound, where is it in the game, the length, is it looping, how many variations, animation, all of that stuff. And that's very, very useful whenever I work with other companies. And they can always come back to this. Yeah, you can also download it, look for it. Yeah, do we have time for questions? Yeah, we have, okay. So, any questions? Thank you very much. Yeah, this guy.
Hi, thanks for speech.
Thank you.
My question is about technical support of FMOD, because as I know, FMOD created by just a couple of engineers in Australia, and this problem I see in this case, how long it will be a bug fixing period, or how often do you need a technical support, and how could you describe the quality of technical support you have with creators of FMOD?
Okay, so actually, well, I don't work for FMOD, so I can't answer you from their side, but from my experience, whenever I had trouble, I didn't contact them. I just went to a few FMOD Facebook groups, people that are using FMOD. So I was just going to the community, asking there, and I quickly got answers for whatever. So that's very convenient. Yeah, any other question?
Hi, Alan.
Hi.
Thank you for the speech. Do you have some tips for persuading the developers to use audio middleware?
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, you can just tell them you will have less work if you do that. I will do a lot of stuff for you. And yeah, you know, every time that you work on a game, you think, should I use FMOD or WISE or whatever, or should I just do it a regular way? And I find out that whenever you do use that, you always have a better sound because you're not lazy to ask for all of these small features of changing stuff. You can just do everything you want. So that's what you can tell the developers. We should do that. It's free. Why not?